everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. Starting with a quick movie review, I went to see Joker. It's not a movie I wanted to see, but gotta get my money's worth out of my AMC A-list, so... Also, it's like, all anybody's talking about is all controversial and shit, so I can't have an opinion on it unless I've seen it. So I saw it. It's fine, I guess. It's a difficult movie for me to review because I didn't personally like it. It was not enjoyable to sit through. But they were clearly trying to make a dark, disturbing movie about someone with mental illness who is pushed into acts of brutal violence. So they succeeded, I guess. It's just really dark. It's grim. It's like if you thought that the DC Comics movies, like the Batman movies and Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, if you thought those were a little too grim, like you ain't seen nothing yet. Like this is as dark as it gets. Which, when they made Suicide Squad, I thought that makes sense because they're villains. So that seems to be what DC wants to do with their movies, is make them edgy and dark. And that doesn't work when you're dealing with a character like Superman. Thankfully they figured it out for Wonder Woman and Aquaman, but they made Superman dark and gritty. And I'm like, no. But if you're going to do a movie about villains, that could be dark and gritty. So, there you go. So the Joker movie can be super dark and gritty and violent and gory and just miserable. And, good for them. I mean, it's well shot. The script is fine. Joaquin Phoenix is very impressive. But there's literally one likable character in the entire movie. Okay, two, because she has a kid. And there's like things... I will say that initially I was like, the script is not good, things don't make sense. But there's a reveal later in the movie that actually colors everything that's come before, so things make sense again, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that does make sense. Fine. It ends up coloring the entire film, though, so I'm not quite sure, but I don't want to spoil it in case you did want to go and subject yourself to this. Because, like, I know people who are like, oh, I thought it was great, I really liked it, and I'm like, I can't say that I liked it, but I can appreciate that they successfully did what they were setting out to do. I guess it was successful. I don't know who this movie is for, because it is not enjoyable to sit through. It is dark and disturbing. If that's what you want, enjoy. Although that's not true. I do know who this movie was made for. It was made for this creepy-ass dude a few rows down in front of me, who, as the movie progressed, got more and more and more into it, and I could hear him muttering things and clapping sometimes and cheering, when Joker would do something, and then when he would get trod upon and beat up, then he would be like, no, And by the end of the movie, as it all explodes into just violence and chaos and everything, he was applauding. He literally was like this, with his arms outstretched like he was having a goddamn religious experience at this movie. I was horrified. I was not uncomfortable enough to leave the theater because I wasn't going to try to shush him because I didn't want to provoke him. Clearly, that's not the kind of person you want to provoke. But he was in a group of people. Like, he had friends, and I think there was a girl next to him who was his girlfriend, because they were holding hands at one point during the movie. And she did try to, like when he was clapping and, like, going like this, she kept trying to, like, go like this and get him to put his arms down, and he wouldn't. That was his man, and he was Joker, go Joker, and kill everybody, and I was like, But since he wasn't just, like, this creepy loner dude, I was like, I don't suppose that he's going to bring guns along with his friends. So I didn't feel uncomfortable enough to leave the theater. I was like, I don't think that this is going to turn into anything. And it didn't. Obviously, I'm fine. I did read about another, at that same exact AMC in Times Square, that there was another person who was cheering along like that, and people tried to get him to be quiet, and he had to be escorted out of the theater because he was a little too into it. Somebody said he'd been drinking, so. But that's this film's audience, which is just, that was honestly the most disturbing part of the film. The film is super disturbing and dark and uncomfortable, but watching that guy, that young man, get so into it was the most horrifying part of the experience. So go see it if you want to see something dark and miserable. Can't really recommend it, unless that's what you want. As for games, I don't know if you've heard, but they have announced a new brain training game, this time for the Switch, and I'm super intrigued. I did enjoy the original brain training game. I think they made a sequel I didn't get, but I did like the original brain training game. And of course, just like before, when you had to turn your 3DS on its side and use it like a book, here you're turning the Switch on its side and using it vertically. Why? I don't know. It seems unnecessary, but if that's what they want to do, go ahead. And you use a stylus to write on the screen. I suppose you could use your finger too. But they, what I like is that, I mean, they haven't announced that it's coming to the US, but I'd be surprised if it didn't. They've announced that you can buy it digitally and download the game, and then you can buy, they're making the stylus available separately. That if you want to buy the stylus to play with your digital download, you can. And I'm like, thank you, that's how it should be. Because you're supposed to train your brain in minutes a day, so you're supposed to play it every day to train your brain. And I don't want to be swapping cartridges, like I'm going to have to do with Ring Fit Adventure. Because if I want to play Ring Fit Adventure and get a little exercise every single day, I'm going to have to be swapping cartridges with Dragon Quest for quite some time. And then whatever else I'm playing. Luigi's Mansion, Zelda, who knows. Because with Ring Fit Adventure, and I've checked, there is no option to download the game digitally to keep it on your hard drive or memory card, whatever, and then just buy the accessories separately. Because with the brain training game, technically I guess you could use your finger to write the numbers and stuff. So you don't need the stylus per se. It would just be helpful and more comfortable. And maybe more accurate. But with Ring Fit Adventure, you need that stupid ring and the little leg strap in order to play the game. So it's not like somebody will say, oh, well, I'm just going to download the game and then I'm not going to buy the expensive accessories. And it's like, you need them. So it's not like you lose the sale, you know? So I'm just super irritated at having to swap cartridges for this long. Because I'm still playing Dragon Quest, and I'm now like over the 20-hour mark, which on a normal RPG I feel like you'd be like almost to the halfway point at this point, but I think I'm like maybe a quarter or a third of the way through the game. So there's a lot left, as I understand it. It is a long game. So I'm loving it still. I did, as I mentioned last episode, my friend was horrified that I was leaving the AI on and letting the characters do what they want. But I had discovered that during a boss fight, they weren't doing exactly what I wanted them to do, and that ended up hurting them and getting them killed. So I said, okay, for boss fights, I'll turn off the AI. So I hit, it wasn't a boss, it was just a mini-boss fight, but it was enough where I was like, okay, I don't want to like, this one I'll take control. So I went and put everybody in manual control, approached the boss, mini-boss, fought them, and it was fine. And then afterwards, I went to leave the cave and encountered more enemies and realized, oh, I forgot to put on the AI again. And then I'm like, it's fine, I'll just play like this. And now I'm used to controlling everybody manually, so it doesn't bother me. Like before, I was letting the AI do it because it was like, I was just being lazy. And they would do fine in regular fights. But now I'm just like, no, it helps me to learn their capabilities and the spells and abilities that they have and whatever. And, make them do what I want them to do. So, and it's a more engaging experience when you're actually actively playing through every portion of the battle instead of just fighting for yourself and then sitting there waiting for your turn to come around again. So, it's technically, I guess it's a little more fun to actually do it. So I'm leaving the AI off. I am manually controlling all battles from now on. I'm making really good progress. I got the ship. which I was not overly concerned about. I said, oh, thank goodness, you know, the ship isn't that important. And a friend of mine laughed at me on Twitter and was like, ha 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 ha. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm assuming that as the game progresses, the ship is more necessary. I mean, I've only used it like twice, but I'm assuming that the ship becomes more of a thing. But that's fine, because that's typical of RPGs. They give you a ship, or like an airship or something. They give you something where you can traverse the large map a little easier and faster without having to walk everywhere, especially since not all the continents will be connected, maybe. So, like, that's fine to me, as long as it's just being used for, like, transportation, and not, like, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you have to upgrade your ship, and then you have ship-to-ship battles, and I'm just like, that's not what I'm here for, you know? So, as you sail around, yes, you're attacked by sea monsters, but it's just random, it's just regular combat. It's not ship combat. The ship is just a ship. So that's fine. So I'm not worried about that. I think I filled out my entire party now. Rab and Jade joined the group. As traditional, they hang around for a story section, and then at the end of that story section, the character will join your party properly. So now I have 7 characters. I don't know if there's more, if there's like a bonus character or an additional character that I'll pick up someday. I think these are the ones that I've seen the pictures of and everything, so I think this is it. You know, I don't want to spoil the story for myself. The problem is that you can only have 4 people in battle, and one of them is you. So I was fine before when I only had 3 characters. Then I got a 4th one when Sylvando showed up, and I'm like, well, I'll swap out Eric for Sylvando. And now right now currently it's me, Sylvando, Rab, and Jade, because I want to see what they're capable of and what their abilities are and what they're good at. But it's hard because it's not like every character in this game is pretty well rounded. So they're just sort of like, they all have some offensive and some defensive, and half the characters have healing spells. So it's not like, okay, there's, you know, me, and then I want like a tank who's really strong, and then there isn't a tank character in this game actually. And then I want like a spellcaster, and then I want a healer. You know, like that's like your typical group in an RPG. But here, it's like, there's me, and then there's like Sylvando, because he's awesome, and then there's, you know, Rab is my new spellcaster, and then since he and I have healing spells, and Sylvando's got a little one too, I decided to put Jade in there, so I've got a little more offensive capabilities. But even then, like, with Serena, she still has some offensive spells, so it's not like they're all well-rounded, so it's almost like you can just pick who you like. And the problem with a game like Dragon Quest is that it's so charming, and all the characters are so awesome. I want them to all be in my party all the time. So I can't choose. It's too hard. So if you have played Dragon Quest on the PS4 and have thoughts on a good party lineup, and these are the best characters to have, let me know in the comments any suggestions that you might have. Because I can't pick. And I don't know yet if I'm going to like leave it as is, or if I'm going to like rotate them in and out, just depending on my mood. You know, it's like, oh, I want to have Victoria back. I'm sorry, Veronica back. Let me, you know, swap her back in. I swapped her out because she dies a lot, because she does not have good defense, because she's just a little girl casting spells. And, you know, I thought Rab might live a little longer and not die as much as she did. So let me know in the comments what you think, and next episode I will probably have more Dragon Quest to talk about, but I promise that the following episode I'll be talking about Ring Fit Adventure, because that'll be out by then, so I'll have something else to talk about if you're not into Dragon Quest, because I know I'm a little Dragon Quest heavy right now because I'm obsessed. Can't help it. Sorry. So come back, and maybe if you don't like Dragon Quest, maybe skip the next episode and come back to hear what I think about Ring Fit Adventure. So, see you then! Whichever episode you choose. Bye!